But that woman is even a little bit more strange because she has a long black veil over her face. You can't see her at all. And on top of that, she's struggling to walk. She can barely take a step. She's holding onto her husband. And the local person's just walking along and he sees this and he's kind of intrigued and he approaches them, hey, do you need a doctor? Do you need help? What's going on? And they said, yes, my wife, she's actually very sick and I need a doctor right away. They go, of course, let me take you to Gatsby's. They could probably help you. So he brings them back here and they knock on this door and the manager answers. After hearing their plight, he says, of course, I have a room number 8, the last one available. He takes them up to room number 8. Now, if you guys can see here, I'm going to turn just a second. This windowsill. Go up one level to the second floor, okay? Straight up. That's room number 8. It's darkened. All the other ones are lit, all right? Now, she's taken there and placed on a bed. The doctor is called and he arrives. He has 2 attendants in stow with him. When they show up, the husband makes them take an oath they will never disclose who they are. Now, as I said earlier, the woman had the veil over her face, but of course the doctor needs to lift that veil to attend to her to see what's wrong. And they believe when they lift that veil, it's going to be a dead giveaway on who this woman is. So the doctor wanted to save her life, takes the oath, and he gets to work. No matter what he tried, nothing worked for her. Unfortunately, he tried for 3 weeks trying to save her life. She's up there in that room. But whatever it was, we believe it might have been typhoid fever, which was very prevalent at the time. It did take her life. She passed away there in room number 8 in October. Now, not being from here, you would think her husband, distraught and all that, would want to bury her back home. But instead, he has her buried here in Alexandria. This is not the cemetery we are going to tonight, guys. I'm really, really sorry. They could have planned that better on back in the day. She's actually buried a few miles up the road in what is known as St. Paul's Cemetery. Now, I've gone on many of occasions just to check it out because I'm interested myself through different times of day. And when you go to St. Paul's Cemetery, you will notice that there's a lot of crows hanging around. I don't know why, but they're all just kind of perched there. And many of the gravestones are very aged with time, pushed over, and hard to read the inscriptions. But the female stranger's tombstone is very easy to find. I found it first time just looking around once. I saw it because it's a white marble. It's a tabletop style gravestone with carved legs. It looks like a small coffee table basically. And there's a beautiful inscription on it that's clear to read. And on the inscription, I'll just tell you the first part. It says, to the memory of the female stranger. No, the husband does not even use her name here. To the memory of the female stranger whose mortal sufferings were terminated the 14th day of October, 1816. Aged 23 years and 8 months. The stone was placed here by her disconsolate husband within whom arms she sighed her last breath. It's a pretty elaborate poem and it continues on. He does all of this for her. He writes a $1,500 check, which is a ton of money back then, for everybody's services involved, and then he leaves town. And he was never seen of again. He actually never came back to visit this gravesite he'd made for his wife. Now, we don't know much about him, obviously, but what we do know, and I'm not really sure how we know this information, but that he was at least convicted of being a con artist and placed in Sing Sing prison up in New York not long afterwards. That's all we really know about him. And also, I guess, kind of, that money that he left was counterfeit. The people here in Alexandria weren't too happy that money, they never got paid for their services. But despite that, the doctor and the 2 attendants who were in the room for the 3 weeks never disclosed who the female stranger and husband are. They kept that oath. With not knowing, though, of course, comes speculations. Now, I've heard some pretty crazy ones. I think the most crazy one I've heard is that they think it was Napoleon dressed as a woman escaping from France. I think that would be kind of a giveaway, but really was him. Or a strange love triangle, or a guy that accidentally married his sister, which would be gross. Or some think it was Aaron Burr, the man who shot Alexander Hamilton. They think it was Aaron Burr's daughter who was lost at sea at that time, which I think is a more plausible one. But again, we're not 100% sure. But that's okay, because it adds to the mystery of the story. And it does not end with her tragically passing away here in room number 8, because I said it's her most well-known ghost story. So she has been seen on many of occasions. Now, the first 2 are very minor, I'm going to tell you about, and the last one is more prevalent, more substantial version. But the first 2, one being of a girl coming to work here. Now, she was going to work as a waitress in this restaurant. And she came in, took the order for the first table, first day on the job, and she's very excited. It's going well. When she gets the plates for that table, she turns around in the kitchen and sees the female stranger standing in front of her, and then she just disappeared in front of her eyes. Now, they say when you see this woman, she has that veil over her face, so you know that it's hers. Another time she was seen was when a troop of Girl Scouts came to do an overnight here in Gadsby's Tavern. Now, this, again, happens all the time, very usual. Troop of Girl Scouts come, they do some colonial activities, and then they go to sleep in the ballroom. It's very fun. Right. They averted a tragedy over there. Okay, so all these girls are in their sleeping bags. They're about ready to go to sleep for the night. And the troop leader's over there. She's about ready to turn out the lights. And there appears in the large mirror that hangs in the ballroom the female stranger. Now, I'm sure these girls did not know who she was. Now, she appears in the mirror, and then the lady casually asks, "Hey, what's a Girl Scout?" And then gone, just disappeared. And as you can imagine, having a room full of young girls just seeing a ghost, they're all pretty spooked. And yeah, they called their moms and went home right away. They did not want to be in this building anymore, like that of the waitress. Now, the most prominent story I found out is in relation to a fellow tour guide of mine. So there's some truth to this story, I know that for sure. Now, this fellow guide, she went to attend one of those reenactment balls a few decades ago. She showed up with a gentleman friend of hers, and they're standing on one side of the ballroom during the dance. And they see a woman wearing some very strange clothing on the other side of the ballroom. Now, the ball was supposed to be taking place in 1799. So everybody's wearing their finest colonial outfits. We're talking lace, silk, probably some wigs going on. Everybody's very fancy. But when they see that woman, the female stranger, with strange clothing, it does not match anybody else. And this is what causes my fellow guide's friend to go across the ballroom and ask her why she's wearing that. When he gets over there, though, that woman is gone. Maybe he looked down for a second to watch his step, but whatever it was, by the time he looks up, she's gone. So he peeks out the doorway that was behind her. When he does, he sees this woman is running down the hallway towards room number 8 here. He follows her in, and when he gets into that room, there's nothing. It's completely empty. He was dead sure he saw her run in there. He checks the closet that's in the room, nothing, but what he sees is a single candle burning in the room, just like these ones right here. They have a glass over them. Now, he is really bothered by this candle being in the room. I don't know why. It would not have bothered me, but there was a burning candle in an unattended room. It bothered him, plus the lady thing was kind of creepy, so he goes downstairs to tell the manager about it. The manager, upon hearing this story, thought, this guy's may have had one too many to drink at the party, but, we'll go check it out, okay? So they go back upstairs, and when they get into the room, nothing again. Nothing is in the room, and that candle that was supposedly lit looked brand new. There was still wax on the wick. It was completely white. So the manager thought, yeah, this guy's definitely had too much to drink. And he says, "Hey, look, man, just go home. We'll forget about the whole thing, okay?" And the manager exits the room. And that gentleman, confused by everything that had just transpired, looked around the room one last time. And he sees that candle. And he thinks, well, if I was imagining it, that glass should not be hot. It should be cold. So he walks over to that unlit candle and he touches the glass. And as he does, his hand gets burned so bad, he has to go to the hospital that night to get attended to. Now, you may or may not believe the stories of the female stranger being in this building. And that's okay. We have our skeptics, all right? It's fine. But a night like this is actually a perfect time to be here. You can look up into the darkened window of room number 8 to see maybe the female strangers in there. But remember, just because you can't see her does not mean she can't see you.
Oh,
all right, guys.
No.
Yay! All right, stay with me for 1 second. Stay with me for 1 second, all right? We're going to go around the corner here. We're going around the corner. There is an underground ice house that was used by the town for a number of years. If you would like to check it out, you can and go down the steps to check it out. I don't have a ghost story related to that. It's just a fun side trip, okay? But if not, we'll keep walking, all right?